Back again. It's a lonely show.
You say back again every week.
I know, just to bug you.
Is that like your phrase, like a catchphrase kind of thing?
It is now.
It's not very creative.
It's not creative. I have
It's the opposite of creative.
I have a brain that works less efficiently than most brains. That's my main issue. So I'm doing pretty good with what I got.
I think we should ask for suggestions for a new catchphrase for you.
You should probably ask for new suggestions for a co-host.
We need suggestions for a co-host because I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks, so you got to have someone sit in for me.
Oh, boy.
Geez, will I still have a job when I come back? That's what my question is.
I think you will. You do a lot of the legwork.
You need like a mule or a burro to do all this crap for you while you have fun, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I push buttons. I set it up, presets and all that kind of stuff. Make it look really hard. It's not.
All right, so what are we talking about this week, John?
I don't know. Arm wrestling?
Let's talk about arm wrestling. That's a good idea. Should we watch that little video that Devin put up?
Ah, yes. Let me set that up.
Because I don't know if you guys noticed or not, but Devin did put up a little demo video of his Freedom Arm Wrestling. It was just one match, but it was interesting. Nonetheless, we can watch it and chat about it.
Let's see. Be interesting while I, do this.
I'm being very interesting. What I'm doing right now, so everybody knows, is doing the shit I usually do while the guest is talking, which is sharing this thing everywhere. So I'm sure it's making for riveting viewing for everyone. Let's see here. Maybe someone will call in tonight and keep us busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should have Gobby call in because we haven't had any troll stuff for quite a while, Gobby. Actually, whenever Gobby is on this show, he doesn't do any trolling.
Do you see the screen?
I do see the screen.
Oh, awesome.
I was reading Michigan State's. I'm not going to Michigan State's because I'm going to Worlds in 2 weeks.
And I'm not going to Michigan State because my shoulder is still falling out of off my body.
But you did go to PT this week, which is very important.
Ugh. Anyway.
What are the super matches? What are the super matches, Steve Pettis? Tell us all the super matches, and we'll tell you exactly who's going to win, and you can bet on it because we're never wrong.
Never. Anyway, you want to watch this thing?
Yeah, let's watch this thing, and someone could list the super matches for us, and then we'll chat about them.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody can hear this, though. But anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, boy. All right. Holding on to the table, just like a normal match. I like the lights. They were only both on for a split second before they started it, which is cool. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Oh, the elbow positions, man.
What bugs you about them?
They're dangerous. I think they're dangerous. And I understand Devin's point that, but I mean, like, look at this right here. People are going to get more injured. There's no doubt about it. And I guess the question is, does that matter or not?
I mean, I think it matters.
Well, you always talk about it being a combat sport, so maybe if you're injured.
Are we going to get hurt? Sure, but, it's also a question of, I mean, obviously none of this is intentional or anything, but, is there something that can be done about injuries? To some degree, sure. I mean, I'm not completely convinced that what we know as the break arm position is truly like the end-all be-all for it. But
no, it's not, because I've seen plenty of arms break in what look like completely safe and normal positions. So I think we all know that it's not the end-all be-all.
Yeah, and I think we've all seen people who pull in what would be broke arm positions for their entire career, from the start too. Not like they were super, super safe and then they kind of went into this dangerous zone.
Do you think that the conventional wisdom is accurate, that it's actually the muscles pulling the bone apart? That's something we always say.
That's a good question. I don't know. Because of where it breaks, Usually it breaks 2 or 3 inches above the elbow, which is a strange place to break if we're talking about the muscles breaking it apart. But, I don't know. I have no idea. But if we're putting ourselves in goofy-ass positions, where it's, very clear, then, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's outlandish to say that, something could be more dangerous than something else.
I think that people commenting are correct. I think that if you're a newer person, you're much more likely to get hurt because you're not going to be smart enough to, when you change your, like at the end of that match right there, the guy switches all the way around to the right side of the table and pushes from there, which he wouldn't. I mean, sometimes you see that now with a typical table, but it certainly would happen much more often on this table. And that could definitely result in a break arm position. I mean, regardless of the veracity of that one spot. I think it would happen more frequently. For guys that really know what they're doing, it would be something that you would learn to adapt to that angle and probably end up being able to use the sides of the table to extend the match. I mean, I think people will figure out the tricks of it as it goes if it gains any popularity.
Yeah, I'm still torn between the obvious, range of where your arm can end up. Where if your pec is exposed or whatever, right? But there is a piece of me too that, like I said to Devin, where if the elbow is not planted within the 7-inch square, then this torque can be alleviated by moving the elbow around with it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if this is true or not. It's just something that, like, I think of, if I'm going to stop somebody's side pressure, I can only go so far with my elbow before my shoulder and my humerus has to take that force. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Maybe there'll be, I don't know. Because, obviously there's certain positions that are going to be more susceptible to possible ligament or bone damage. And then there's going to be other positions that are more maybe prone to soft tissue damage. Where if I'm way extended like this, is my humerus extended or in danger because of my arm moving this way? Maybe not. But my pec is super open. My shoulder's super open. So I don't know. I mean, again, we're going into that territory of like, how do we make it safe? I don't think there is a really way to make it safe, but it doesn't mean that it has to be like intentionally, like, yeah, we know that this could cause injury, but fuck it, we're gonna do it anyway. That kind of thing.
Aside from the injury aspect, which I think you're right. I mean, there's a couple of people saying there's gonna be less injuries because of the nature of the particular dynamics of this, which I think we have to see a lot more matches before we can really speak on intelligently, but. The other question is, with all the different attempts at new leagues and, Travis's stuff and the WAL stuff, I mean, do we have enough of an attention span for another new league? Are we sick of it? I mean,
that's a good
do you
question.
want to go and learn another whole set of stuff and adapt to it with an uncertain future? I mean, how much time am I personally going to commit to the freedom arm wrestling right now? I would say 0.
Yeah,
I mean, that could change, but
I understand exactly what you're saying. It's a good point. I also believe and have the thought of it's taken so long to build this wheel that we're on right now, and we want to reinvent it. Which, I mean, hey, anybody who wants to do whatever they want with the sport, it's not some kind of like bizarre sacred thing that you can't touch. But that being said, where WAF is, where USAF is, it's taken a long, long time with a lot of mistakes to get there. Mistakes that were not necessarily, I don't know if anybody's particularly, trying to hide those mistakes, but you make a lot of mistakes before you make all those rules and there's reasons for why all those rules happen. There's a reason that you can have a master referee. It's not just something that you just show up for a while and you're a master now because I said so. These things, it took a long, long, long time. And there's a good reason why it took a long time because it's really hard to put it. It might look real easy to put together a list of 10 rules and say, yeah, that covers it all, until you try it and you go, oh man, I need 20 more. And we've taken a long time to get those 20 more.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I like the idea of it. I think it'll probably be something the average person connects with more because it's much more like the bar that we usually use or just a kitchen table or wherever people typically arm wrestle nowadays. Mm-hmm. But I think that's the only positive aspect of it. I feel like, whenever you have a brand new sport like that, and what you have to come up with is you're trying to anticipate what all the intricacies are going to be and idiosyncrasies and everything else, all the other words I can't think of right now. Mm-hmm. But, there's going to be problems with it we didn't think of, and it might end up being a ridiculous sport. Like there might be ways to manipulate it and completely change what we know of arm wrestling just by taking advantage of the lack of rules.
Well, yeah, and like I kind of joked with Devin, is the wrist curl going to be the new is that going to be the new king's move, right? Because you have to touch the knuckles to the table. Now you can push. You can push something off the table. We saw that happen. In either direction, that's fine too. But if we're talking about just pinning somebody, like, is the hook no longer? Is it just a straight hook, no longer an option? Or do you have to be able to roll from a hook? Which I'm not even against any of those. But, I mean, I don't know.
I like how he made a point that you're not allowed to punch the shit out of the guy across the table. Because, I mean, if you're really going to freedom arm wrestling, why not allow everything? You know what I mean? Because, I mean, there'd be plenty of times that you'd be tempted to do that.
No.
Yeah. I can think of one time in particular, John, that even you, Mr. Calm, was once tempted to punch somebody. I'm not going to bring it up, but I remember you telling me that story. Yeah, there was one time, I don't remember who it is, so I can't even rat them out, but they were a little bit aggressive on the old table, and you said, I'm going to fuck this guy up.
I think I know exactly what you're talking about, yeah. Yeah,
so it does happen, even to the best of us.
Yeah, that was special circumstance. It was just weird, yeah. That does happen from time to time. That was a long time ago, too.
We have a special guest that's going to come on. We might not be able to see his face, but
yeah, what the hell?
It's going to amuse you.
Whatever.
Nobody will be able to guess who it is.
No?
Yeah, I think Chris just made a good point here, which is that, let's think about this for a minute. He's just saying the crucible of our sport is pullers thinking what's best for them and not what's best for the sport, which is an accusation that has been lobbed Devin's way several times with the fairer straps and the WL rules, which was also pointed at Travis. I think that's true. I mean, to a certain extent, if you're given power and authority over the creation of a new league, why not try to make it benefit you?
No, I mean, I don't even know how much people can help that at times. You know, that's why I didn't really... When arm wrestlers were writing rules for the WAL, it was really concerning. You know, is anybody going to write a rule to make it fair for themselves?
That's the problem.
Of course not. Even if they try to, there's no way to really do it. And when you talk about $20,000, $10,000, fuck no, they're not going to. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Paul Lynn just said there's not enough. McDonald's came out with the chicken nugget, which we all know and love. And it was a temporary product for 20 years before they decided they have enough data to add it on permanently. So I think we need a 20-year chicken McNugget style test period before we decide for sure on freedom arm wrestling.
That's all it's got to take?
Does that seem like it's long enough? Should we do a little bit longer? Maybe less? I mean, I want to see a whole tournament. And with what I noticed from that video, too, and I don't know if you guys picked up on it, but Devin was reffing on the left side of the table, and he was watching for elbow fouls. And then when that one guy started to bring the guy over, possibly breaking the plane, he had to quickly switch to have his eyesight along the horizontal edge of the table so he could see whether or not the plane was broken. So that would be a very challenging thing to ref. I think what you would need is refs looking at the angle to see if the plane is broken and then have some kind of sensor on the table that identifies when an elbow comes up.
Yeah.
High tech. That's what we need in this sport. We need more technology.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's the answer, but I do. You can obviously see some holes with how much there is to watch. And the idea of, we're going to keep the refs out of it as much as possible. I don't know if that system's the best system for it, but I mean, it sounds like it could be, but again, I think you're going to have to have a tournament setting where it's high stress. It really matters to people. And then you'll know.
I think it will I agree with Paul here saying that attorneys will be longer, especially when we're trying to figure it out, because it's just the ability to move around that much. I mean, we can't move because of the 7-inch pads to prevent a pin, but if you could quickly switch all the way around the table to absorb a hit, I mean, somebody like Devin, you might never be able to pin him. If he's able to move his elbow as much as he wants, he may never lose, just based on that one aspect.
Right. Oop, someone's calling.
No. Who can it be? We're not going to see his face. I hope you guys deal with that.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
What's going on, Chris?
Gobby. Back on the show. What's up, man?
Yeah. Not much. Freedom Arm Wrestling Sunday. I'll be there.
Oh, yeah? What do you think of it, seriously?
Well, here's what I do know. Wall, it doesn't work. WAF doesn't work in terms of what we actually need to do, and that's making the sport spectator friendly. We got to get stoppages out of the game, and we have to get for on a smaller degree refereeing out of the game. I don't know if what Devin's doing is absolutely going to work, but that's what his mindset is. He's moving in the right direction, and something eventually will have to change. And he's also talked about having refs that are only women with big breasts. Okay, you can laugh, but this is what will make big time. This is what sells. Money and sex sell, and he's bringing in what? Hot refs, and he's bringing in betting. So what? So if it's going to work, if someone's going to make something work, who's the most intelligent man in arm wrestling? It's arguably Devin. So if someone's going to make it work,
besides the three of us.
But if someone's going to make it work, and who's retired and has a lot more time to analyze and think of things, and who has TV contacts because of his wife, if someone's going to make it work, my money's on Devin.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So and he's an hour and a half away from me. So whatever he does, I'm all in. If Devin was in California, I'd be like, well, good luck. Let me know when you have, let me know when it's closer to me, or let me know when it becomes financially viable for me to go down there. But other than that, I'm on board, right?
Do you think Devin is even pinnable on a table like that, where he's allowed to move his elbow everywhere?
Oh, he's definitely pinnable. He can get extended just like anyone else. I've been trying to rack my brain on, is it the shorter, stockier, powerful puller, or the longer, lankier puller? I think if you look at a match between Mask and Devin, because of the length of their arms, you could potentially look at a very, very long match. Now, for example, yes, the matches could be longer because now you've got to put the wrist into the table. However, if you're a drag puller, or you are a guy who draws back with your lat and your elbow back, you now have more than 2 inches to draw back. You now have a foot or 10 inches, whatever. So that can negate. So, for example, if I'm pulling John and John extends me 3 inches, I can still hold into the match, and he might have trouble pinning me like he did when we pulled. Now, if John can draw back another 4 inches, I'm screwed. He has full hand control, and he will just pin me. And if I'm extended at 108 degrees, my wrist will hit the pad. I'm too extended. My bicep is no longer in play, and he will pin me. So I don't believe matches will be that much longer. I just think there's more versatility. I think there's more flexibility, and I think shoulders play a bigger part. You can drive your elbow into the small of your opponent's forearm, and create kind of like a wall. Yet he can draw back. I just think it's a little bit more. There's more options.
Do you think with
instead of chest?
Do you think with getting your own grip and negotiating, is actually going to be more set grips?
Oh, 95% of all grips will go to refs, especially when you start getting into the higher levels, because
nobody wants to give up anything.
What's the chance that you and I, John, being totally different, or me and you, Josh, being totally contradicting pullers, will be well? You guys are not perfect examples, because you guys are not. Although you're runners, you're not cheaters. Me and Klemba. Let's say me and Ron Klemba. There's no way I'm going to let him double cap on my thumb. There's zero chance, and there's no way he's going to allow me to be carved in. So when you have a grinder and a runner who's also a cheater, there's no way two guys are going to, sure, why not? It'll never, and even for a tenth of a second, I kind of think we're okay. He's going to do something, and I'm going to take my hand off the button.
Right.
So when 9 times out of 10, or even maybe 10 times out of 10, when you start getting to the higher levels, it absolutely will always go to a ref grip, and I think Devin stated 15 to 30 seconds, something like that. So, yeah, it will go to a ref grip.
Have you given any thought to the idea of an unlimited variation on risers that you could use? Somebody had, come up with the idea of using one shaped like a skate ramp.
I called Rick Pickney 2 months ago, and I said, Rick, I have a plan for a riser, and of course only on my half of the table. But it starts off at 2 inches, it goes to 3 to 4 to 6 to 8, and like a skateboard ramp. So, and he says, Rick, can I legally do it? He says, the only rule we have for risers is it can't, we actually have no rules. We used to have a rule saying that if you're on a riser, your belt buckle can't, this is in Canada, your belt buckle can't be above the table. He says that no longer exists. So Devin is only implementing what now CAWF is doing. And if you think being too high on the table is an advantage, it's not. There is a sweet spot for everyone. And if you get too high, you lose drag. You now your shoulder comes into bigger play, but you totally lose drag. Mm-hmm. So there is a sweet spot for every arm wrestler at what height he should be. There's a reason why you don't see people on 9-inch risers. It's not an advantage anymore. Mm-hmm. Could it be an advantage if I create a wall where I can push off? Well, so can John. John can also push off that wall. That wall will be at the halfway point, and John could use his feet and he can push off as he rolls. And what am I going to do? I'm a hooker. Unless I build that wall on my right side so my right foot can push off that, but I could always do that with the leg anyway. Mm-hmm. So you will not see anyone do these things. You will not see anyone create a riser that looks crazy, because I don't believe it's an advantage.
Mm. It's an interesting point. It makes me wonder if people will bring 6 different risers with them and change them like golf clubs depending on who their opponent is.
Yeah. I created a riser. And I brought it to a tournament 3 weeks ago, and Devin saw it and he says it's amazing. What it does is, I believe anyone within, around anywhere from 5'3" to 5'9" to 5'10", they always, let's say they're pulling right, they will want, there's an advantage to have your right leg higher, but never your left. Because your left leg, as an attacking side of your body, it can actually prevent you from pinning. So if you're pulling right, you would have a riser that sneaks into the table on your right side, but not your left. So it's kind of like a half riser, and it only affects your right foot if you're pulling right. Only because, for example, someone like John, well, John's not a good example. It'd be most people around maybe 5'5" to 5'8", 5'9", but you can extend your foot a foot and a half into the center to the center of the table on the right-hand side, and that way you're able to use more lat. However, once you establish position and you have hand control, you no longer want to be high with your left foot, and you're able to still drive down and pin. There's a reason why when you have two men at 6'4", 6'5", matches stop, but it's so hard for taller men to pin, because now they have to, they don't have that natural drag. I was talking to Rob Vigent at Addison last Friday, and we were talking about the way tables are meant. They are built ideally for a man 5'11", 6'5", 6'1". If you are shorter, you might need to adjust. If you are taller, you can stop more matches, but pinning now becomes a little bit more difficult. So
yeah, because there's nowhere to go without elbow fouling.
Well, if you look at someone like Devin, who's on the table or mat, they have one foot totally extended outside the square of the table. Their left leg is totally back. There's a 5-foot gap between their right foot and their left foot. Now, that's great for stopping and getting your elbow tight and stuff like that. But when Devin tries to pin, and he's trying to pin someone with comparably his own strength, it's not easy. It's not easy. And now if you look at Barbosa, who's built, who's very stocky at maybe, you see him attack. He's able to bring more chest and more drag from his lat into the pin than someone who's 6'6", with more shoulder and more prying and more shoulder and more down attack and down pressure. And by doing that, you're bringing your elbow into the equation and your shoulder joint. Someone like Marcio can use more dynamic force or muscular force in the pinning, which I think is safer.
That the trouble pinning is that also attributable to the fact that Devin doesn't do a lot of top rolling? Because I'm thinking of the steel giraffe. He pins quickly, but he comes over the top and his knees kick under the table pretty far.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't know if it's it's not ideal, and I think he's required to exert more to pin, or he has to drop lower. He has to drop lower, and the lower you have to drop, the less leg drive you have.
I mean, his knees are completely bent under the table, so like has that power coming down with the momentum with his body weight, but there's a susceptible end to it.
Yeah, if you want to know what it feels like to be Devin, or maybe Josh, maybe not, you're fairly tall yourself, but pull on a kid's table and try to pin someone on a kid's table. Or you can stop everything, because your shoulder's behind you, but to pin someone on a short table is not easy, because he's so much tighter, he's closer. It's not ideal, and it causes more grinding with the elbow and more grinding with the shoulder, more downforce, and downforce is what causes joint stress. Bicep dragging is actually a very safe, joint-free. It's minimized on the joints. I think diagonal dragging or back dragging is safe on the body. Having to press, having to use more down pressure, not so much.
It is true.
I like this. I'm just having a little. I mean, it's interesting. All the things you're saying when I'm thinking about why Devin would get behind this freedom table, some of it makes more sense if your theories are correct.
And I don't believe, unlike Travis built Wall to favor Travis. Travis is a champion. Travis is also very self-serving. Devin, I truly believe that if Devin had an option to build a league that would absolutely favor him to dominate, but not for the greater good of the sport, or something that's the greater good of the sport but doesn't favor him, he would definitely take the latter. No doubt about this. Devin's a hell of an arm wrestler. He's also altruistic that way. When it comes to the sport, he wants to see it grow. He wants to see it big. And the only way you're going to get it big is to make it easier for spectators to, when I have friends or something and they don't arm wrestle and they're watching rules and they're like, well, why is this? Why is that? Why is this?
Yeah.
And when you're watching something and you're already lost, you're already fading out. Now, if something is more, now his rules are very primitive. Watching it is incredibly primitive. It's incredibly basic, like sumo wrestling. It's very simple. Push out of center or push out of circles. This is kind of the same way. And you're kind of bringing in more of a fighting aspect, body into the equation. Now, I'm still not 1,000% sure if it benefits me or even if ultimately it's going to fade away or it'll be good long term. I don't know. I just believe that if it was ever going to be something that came along that made it spectator friendly and brought in the aspects of sexuality and gambling and money and this and that, then
you have good points there. It's hard to argue with it. Yeah. It is a proven model. Why include straps at all?
Why include straps?
Yeah, when it comes down to simplicity, well, it's one of the things I'm sure you've noticed when you're watching with people that aren't familiar with the sport. That's the first thing they ask. Why did they slip? Why are they going to straps? So why include them at all?
Well, I think you'd have to. You need straps because you have separation.
But how much of the separation, in your opinion, isn't intentional?
Well, not much.
I know it's kind of a tough question, but it's not much, right? I think we could agree on that. So, I mean, when you think about it, go ahead.
Yeah, and I don't think you want to hear this, but I believe if his model exponentially grows and evolves, I believe down the road you will see every match in a strap.
Mm-hmm. It's possible.
I know you don't want to hear that. But I'm not saying it's good. But I say I can possibly see that as a thing, only to speed up the process. You also need a model that is fast and quick and is not a 7-hour tournament. You cannot have people sitting there for 8 hours. It has to be quick, it has to be concise, and it has to be simple to follow. There has to be betting. Could you imagine watching football with your friends or watching UFC where betting was illegal? Or betting is huge. Betting allows a non-participant to feel involved and excited. If you and John are pulling, and I'm like, well, John's my buddy, and Josh and I don't get along, and he's a liberal, blah blah blah. I'm going for John. Yes, it's fine. But all of a sudden, if I have $500 riding on John, I am at the edge. I am at the edge of my seat. I am like, John, you can do this, buddy. Like, blast away. Money brings someone into the equation who might not be that invested, and that's huge. Devin's done 5-6 events that he has at Calcutta auction. And I've never missed one. I just think it's a great way. I've even gone to one as a non-puller just to bet on someone to get involved, and I think it's so exciting. I think his model is on the right track.
Well, I think you're right about that. I think everything you said makes a lot of sense, and it encourages the idea of having super matches rather than tournaments because they are a contained period of time. You're going to have 3 to 5 matches with these two guys. So it's not like it's going to take whatever it is, 15, 20 minutes to get it from start to finish. It's not going to take 4 hours to get through it. It's almost maybe tournaments happen, off the air. And then that narrows it down to the top, 4 or 5 or 6 guys in each class. And then you have super matches to settle it from there, which are much easier to bet on as well. Because you get to pick one personality versus just trying to pick someone out of 20.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, you can get it. And of course, leading up, there's hype and this and that, just like UFC, just like McGregor and Mayweather, all that stuff. Social media builds it up, it snowballs into something huge. But the purists in arm wrestling, and there are many purists that do not are looking at the table and looking at the rules, and are just very unhappy, and they think it's a potential nightmare. I understand the purity of the sport, but I understand that we're going nowhere. We've always gone nowhere. Leagues come up, leagues go down. The most boring thing in the world to watch, although I think the hardest thing in the sport to earn and the most respectable thing to win in the sport is a WAF Open world title, first place. There's nothing, because you're looking at a class with upwards 35, 40 guys, most of which you've never pulled before, so you have to adapt.
Right.
I think that's the hardest thing to do. That being said, if you've ever tried to watch a live feed of a WAF tournament, it's brutal. The stoppages, it's just crazy.
Well, the people who love the sport have a hard time watching it that long.
Yeah, and if you look at the people watching it, they're all family and friends. Like, you don't have people off the street paying $30 to go watch a WAF left-handed open class. You don't see that stuff.
True.
The stoppages have to stop. I mean, the most painful thing for me to watch in arm wrestling is two strong pullers. I guess I'd probably say generally hookers. They get into a long match. Everything, it's sets. They're setting themselves. Everything's great. They're about to go, and all of a sudden, one guy just floats his elbow, and the ref stops it. Then you have to do the restart, and then there might be a disparity or discrepancy with a foul or a wrist, and you got to stop that. It has to stop. It has to stop. Who does it? I don't know. What league does it? I don't know. It has to stop. It's brutal. As a puller, I can't stand it, and I love the sport much like you guys do. That has to stop. That has to stop.
I don't disagree with you there. I feel like there's a lot of ways to refine it then you're probably right. There's a lot of resistance to any kind of change. That's one of the things I liked about the freedom stuff with the lights, although I do agree it would be tough, but I just like the idea of taking human elements out of it whenever possible, because that generally saves time. Yeah. So if there's a way to have electronic aspects monitoring, elbow fouls or, starting positions or even pins, and then that, first of all, makes it a lot easier to find refs if you don't need refs of like a master level to make these kinds of split-second calls.
Yeah, the aspect is like a regular guy wants to run a tournament. You run many tournaments. You're structuring the logistics to run the tournament. You got to factor in. Well, in your area, there's a lot of good refs, but a lot of times, I like here in Quebec, we don't have strong reffing, so we got to bring in reffing from out of province. That's $500. It's hotel for a night, and so it's $500 to get two strong refs. That's terrible for a tournament when you gotta. I mean, you got to do it. You have to have credible refs, but that is hurting the sport. Imagine if you can just say, "Hey, listen, John, just get a guy. You don't have to pay him, just a buddy, and just or just someone local. They don't have to be a quote unquote master accredited ref." I think that makes promotion a lot easier from the standpoint of overhead. And another thing about the lights and the buttons that I think Devin's thinking about is you and I are pulling, Josh. People are watching us pull. They'll be talking between us. Josh, come on, that was close enough. There can be jockeying, and that jockeying will intrigue spectators. It's like trash talk. Two people trash talk on Facebook. People might not like, they might not comment, but hundreds will watch. What's going to happen here? Come on, Josh. You got what you wanted. It's good enough. And you're like, Gobby, we know you're trying to cheat. It creates, it's another small aspect of excitement other than the actual pulling, much like the betting, much like the roughing. It adds, all these things add. Now, I'm pretty sure whatever he thinks is going on now, I'm certain that within 6 months or 9 months, if it's still in motion, it will adapt. It will change.
Yeah.
And in 2-3 years, it will be totally different than what we're talking about here tonight. There will be adaptations, and just like he was talking about the other night, over the period of decades, how the table sets from the donut circular things. And we're talking about injuries. Imagine an arm wrestling table where your elbow is fixed at the center and it cannot budge. Let's just say, for argument's sake, that your elbow cannot drag, it cannot move. It stays in a fixed position, and you and I arm wrestle.
Terrible.
Could you imagine the injuries? The injuries would be at like a 40%, 30% clip. It would be brutal. So I don't believe opening up the avenues of attack laterally, whatever they be. I don't believe it causes injuries. I don't believe injuries will be increased. I think they will be decreased at a certain point.
What do you think about the
Now-
idea of following the model that they use in, say, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or Judo, whereas people at a certain level are not allowed to do, arm locks or chokes, and they get added in as people get better and better? So, I mean, on a freedom table, could you envision some kind of like boundaries for people who are new or different rules for them to keep them safe while they're developing the bone density necessary for the kind of torque that we put in?
I have a rule for guys I train and people on my team, and that is you don't go to any competition before you have 25 sessions on a table. Mm-hmm. Like, I just think in an extreme sport, and arm wrestling, make no mistake, is an extreme sport. I think there's not only a learning curve, but there's a level of conditioning that structurally has to happen to your arm. I don't believe I can break my arm. I believe when I pulled Buzzle last year, I was in break arm against a 250-pound man. My arm did not break. Mm-hmm. I just don't believe. And frankly, if my arm broke tomorrow, I'd be like, sweet. Watch what happens when it fully rehabs. Watch how strong I become. In our sport, the best injury we can have is a break arm. It is.
It does seem that way.
It's not that tragic. It's not tragic. It's not a concussion. It's not terminal. It puts you. It disables you for maybe 6 months, maybe. But I don't think break arms are bad. Break arms get a lot of YouTube hits. But I don't believe it. I don't believe it does. It does.
Well, those are the most watched arm wrestling videos.
Yeah. I just talked to someone that never arm wrestled. You ever see? Oh yeah, I saw an arm break once. I saw it on YouTube.
Yep.
Not a good thing. It's just reality.
Yeah, we can clarify that clean arm breaks are better when it's all nasty and they have to do surgery.
Yeah, that's
bad stuff.
But I don't believe. Yeah, but I definitely agree because of the way Devin's moving. I believe the system. It's more important now than ever. If this sport, if this new league, if this new system becomes more or less official, you definitely don't want beginners messing around. You want them messing around on the practice table. You want them learning stuff. You do not want a newbie coming in, going up against. Imagine a strong newbie, like one of these bodybuilding guys that are strong, where they can potentially stop a match with their bicep, but are out of position against a fast whiplash type, more experienced arm wrestler. Something will go because the guy now can drag 1.5 feet to his left, and the guy will be extended faster and harder.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we're talking about newbies who can't protect themselves, the chance of injuries go up. With veterans, people that know how to protect themselves, that know how to get in and out of, I'm in a dangerous position, let me get my shoulder behind, or I believe it's minimal. But I'm just not a big fan of creating a sport or creating rules for the rookie. I believe you have to learn. I don't believe in novice classes. I believe if I ran a tournament, you had two new guys, they would pull each other. They would be together in a bracket. You bracket the first round based on experience. So, but I don't believe in having novice, amateur, pro tournament in one tournament and giving medals. Like it dilutes everything.
So you just believe in education more than like building, like through competition?
I just believe too many promoters are catering sport to many demographics. If you love arm wrestling,
do you believe in like a novice tournament?
No, man. You never cater to the weakest denominator. You cater to your biggest demographic, and all the other smaller demographics adapt to the bigger part. You never adapt to small remote. Okay, I've always thought that pullers should adapt to promoters and leagues. Leagues do not have to adapt to certain pullers. It's the greater good. The greater good.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right because we all know the guys who stayed in novice classes for 5 years.
Oh, that I agree with, but I do think that I've been to a lot of tournaments where the amateur and novice class was significantly bigger than the pro class. Now, you could argue that a bunch of those guys should be in the pro class, as you guys were just saying, but I do think there's a benefit to it. I mean, there's a lot of sports that have that. They have some sort of beginner, and a lot of times, frankly, Chris, it's income driven because if you get 40, 50 people to enter amateurs, and that's money you can give to the pros. Yeah. Or more money to buy whatever trophies and medals or what have you. So, I mean, but I do understand what you're saying.
You're right. At the same time, the pro has to wait. Now has to sit down through an 8-hour day. Okay. Sure. And the pro is now going to travel less. He's going to say, nah. Now, if you're giving away cash, anytime you give away cash, you have to have an amateur class. Because you cannot afford a cash class is different. Now you're getting elite guys. You cannot put a beginner in with elite guys. So when you're offering cash, I think you absolutely have to have an amateur or a novice class. Well, novice is beginner. Let's not say a novice. Let's say amateur. Now, but if you're having a pro class and giving away medals, so it's not an actually pro class. It's just
right.
You know, a high level amateur class, and then you're going to have an amateur class, and then you're going to have a novice class. And you're going to have 5 in the novice. In the 154 class, you'll have 5 in the novice. You'll have 6 in the amateur. You'll have 7 in the pro. Wow. Wow. Why not have 18 guys in one big class? And you bracket the new guys together. You bracket the amateurs together, or the amateurs / pros together. And I just think it's the responsibility of a coach of the team or a team or a person running practice to get his novice guys prepared structurally and theoretically to pull and not go into a tournament prematurely. I just don't think anyone 6 months in the sport should compete at a tournament. Now, when I say in the sport, I mean you have to be going every week to a practice. You have to be getting accustomed to ready goes, to angles, to moving your body. That's just my thought. So if a guy does that for 6 months and he gets his 20 sessions on the table, he's good to go. Put him anywhere. He should be with a good coach, with a good team. He should be more or less prepared to handle anything he sees. Will he win? No. Will he finish top 3? No. But he probably won't get hurt, and he'll probably get a couple good wins or a couple good matches, and he'll feel satisfied.
Well, he'll at least walk out healthy and with a game plan.
Yeah, I just think you don't rush. You don't rush.
No, I 100% agree. I'd be so much more comfortable if more people went to a training and actually participated in the conditioning and training aspect of it before they ever competed, just because, you know, we've all seen what happens at times, and it's terrible.
Yeah.
What do you think about kids classes? Kids and youth.
Oh man, yeah, kids are something you need to cater to because they're the future. And kids, absolutely. Kids are different. Kids, yeah, absolutely. Kids are huge. Kids are huge.
All right, let me change the subject on you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Addison last Friday, there were 50 kids in the 0 to 5 age group. Yeah. Could you believe that? 50 in the 0, not all kids. In the 0 to 5 age group, there was 50 kids.
It's amazing.
Insane.
So cool.
Because they're fearless.
Yeah.
Just think that's awesome too,
yeah.
man. I mean, I love watching.
These are kids, both women and men, girls and boys, that are going to beat up on Josh in about 20 years. So
that's
good stuff. Yeah.
My son's going to be doing it. He's already better than me. All right,
your son. Yeah, your son's awesome. Yeah.
I agree, man. I'm not going to argue with you on that one.
No, your son's incredible. I follow your son, everything. Yeah.
He's a beast. You should see him climb. This kid's amazing. But anyway, let me ask this question about Michigan State's and the round robin they have there. I'll tell you who's in it, right-handed, and then I'd love to hear your thoughts. Gabe White, Joel Hudick, Mickey Moto, Mike West, Mike Sayers, and Tony Katowski. The first thought I have is because it's a round robin, that's got to benefit Mike West, who's probably has the best endurance out of that group.
No. West has good endurance, but endurance only matters when your torque is at your horsepower is at par. His horsepower is not at par anymore.
Even after 6 matches,
I like. He might not to win it. He's not going to win it unless Katowski gets the 2 biggest seeds are Katowski and Hudick. Yeah. Are they going to get each other first round? I don't know, but that it's possible. But my money's on Katowski or
is this right-handed?
My money would be on Katowski.
Right-handed.
Yeah. Katowski, and then Hudick only because that guy just never gives up. Mm-hmm. He's just a grinder that never gives up and has good stamina. He would be my emotional. Like I'd love to see him win, but my money would be on Tony. Tony can roll guys. Tony can do a lot of things. He's probably the most versatile puller in that group. Mm-hmm. Hudick might have the most stubborn puller, the biggest grinder. Mike West is 15 years too old for that class. I don't know. Gabe White might be a little too light.
I think, yeah. I mean, I agree with your synopsis of that. I think Tony just too versatile and too explosive too. You know, there's going to be a lot of matches in there where he can get them done quick, just because he's intelligent and just because he's explosive.
Well, he's the best arm wrestler in that class. He's arguably maybe the strongest arm wrestler in that class. I love that guy, but that guy's going to get grinded every match. Like from what I've seen, he can't finish matches that quickly. So if he gets X amount of matches and Kwiatkowski gets X amount of matches, I have to believe that Kwiatkowski's going to have a lot more gas in the tank.
That's a good point.
But I think there's 2 elite pullers in that class, and the rest are good. Mike West is awesome. Like he's when I first started pulling, he was just one of the better hookers in the United States. Like he's awesome, but he's a little bit long in the tooth for that group. But he can definitely upset some dudes. There's no doubt he can spoil the days of a couple of guys in that class. Gabe White, if it's the same Gabe White, he used to be 165. In 2013, he pulled UAL 6 at 165. So he's a little bit, he might, unless he's gained a lot of weight, he might be a little bit, his frame might be a little bit too small for that class. Well, we can argue, Kwiatkowski made 165 in 2013 at UAL 6 as well. But he had to lose a ton of water, and he's a different monster altogether right now.
Right.
For whatever reason, I won't speculate, but he's just, he's mega, right? He's huge. He's yeah.
Kwiatkowski does seem to have, his level does seem to vary for whatever reason. I know he was injured after WAL last time around when he did 165s, but he had a rough patch of 4 or 5 months after that. So I don't know what kind of shape he's in right now. I guess it probably depends a lot on that. We'll find it. You ever gone to Michigan State? That seems like one of the better state tournaments that we run in the U.S.
Oh, it's 300, 200. I think the average, I heard the numbers, is averaging 270 entries.
Yeah,
the best, by far the best awards given ever.
Yeah, they're pretty awesome.
Agreed.
I've been saying for 3 years I'm going to go down there, but for me it's like a 15-hour drive. I got no one that wants to drive with me. But on one day, if it still goes, those trophies. And it's sometimes you see tournaments where the number 1 trophy is awesome. He gives trophies for every top three. Top 3 get that gorilla, that 10-pound gorilla thing. Like, that's amazing. So you can have John can go there and not have a great day, finish 3rd, left, and still leave there with the nicest trophy he's ever seen. Like, that's incredible. That's an incredible deal for your $25 or the $20, whatever you're spending for the entry fee. That's a great, for the top 3 to get that. That's, good job on Pettis, because that's got to be one of the most successful annual tournaments run across the North America.
Oh, it is.
Every year.
It's probably number 1.
Yeah, it's got to be. Awesome. Good for him.
It is good for him.
One day I'll make.
Yeah, I would love to get down there too. I just think it's going to be fun. It's a fun class to go to, and it's always good when there's a huge tournament. It makes you feel like you earn stuff. Mike West is saying he likes being the underdog. Well, that's true. I don't bet against Mike West. I know you're right. You guys are totally right. But I've just seen him pull 5-6 classes on the same day and still give everybody a hard match. I have a lot of respect for that.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you, there's no bigger fan than Mike West than me. So, I love that guy, but it's just
he's coming to Worlds.
Oh, of course, always.
He's going to Worlds. He's doing the senior class and the Grand Masters. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Chris, we talked about this before, but I don't remember what your answer was. Do you think you ever consider going back to Worlds, or have you done your?
No. My goal ever since I started in 2005, I went to Nationals. I went to Tokyo. 2006, I went to Manchester, and I made a deal with myself. My goal is going to be making a run at number 1. Took a 5th, took a 3rd. There is nothing harder. I think once you win an open world title, you can. I don't care what you do in life after that. You can be one proud motherfucker. Like that's massive.
Yep.
For many reasons, and I don't care. Well, money, drugs. I don't care. To win a class with 30+ guys, all with different styles, and you have to adapt. It's just, and they're all elite. Like you don't get.
Yeah, they're all world beaters.
You can get easier draws, but there are not like, some guys are not the same caliber. But you don't get guys that don't know what they're doing. You don't get guys that are like 6 months in. You don't get those guys. All the guys they know what they're doing. They've been sponsored to go there for whatever reason, and so they're not taking the match lightly. They're going to try to false hit. You're getting everyone's best match. So to answer your question, next year my nationals are like a 5-minute walk down the road. So I'm definitely going to nationals. And if I win, I will win. My left will win, whatever class I decide to pull, and then I will depending on work schedule, I'll try to make a run at Turkey. And
What weight class do you think you could? I mean, what do you think is the lowest that you could conceivably get to and still feel strong?
Yeah, I'd have to test before nationals. I'd have to test myself, my strength, and I have to slowly, gradually get down. But I don't think I'd want to run from 165. I weigh 170, 168. I don't think I need to run 2 weight classes below me. I think I can. My left can handle 165. Now my game would have to get better. My strength, my wrist, a lot of things would have to get better for me to make any noise in that class. But it's not going to stop me from trying. But that's definitely the absolute goal.
Well, we've talked a little bit online, Chris, recently about the kind of training you're doing, and it's very impressive. I mean, some of the things that you wrote to me that you were doing, I can't do, and not that I haven't tried. Especially the rope climbing stuff and the pegboard stuff that you've been doing. I think that's it's really important kind of strength building training that's very applicable to arm wrestling. And somebody was just asking questions. It wasn't directed specifically at you, but it was about micro adjustments and using those kinds of things to beat somebody's pronation, that sort of thing. And, in our match that we pulled, I mentioned this to you a couple of times. I was very impressed with how every adjustment you made my position weaker. And that I felt like it was just, it was a war of attrition and you were going to get me. And I couldn't figure out how to, I couldn't figure out what you were doing or how to stop it. So I feel like, I don't know, do you feel like that's something that has just come with the decades of training that you have in, or is that something that you've, focused on specifically?
Well, you have any arm wrestler goes into 3 categories. Extremely built for one move, whether it's hook or top roll, and then you have someone who's balanced. You're at one end of the spectrum, I'm at the other. John maybe fits somewhere in the middle, but slowly favoring your end. The leverage game. So because I have I believe you can have a short forearm and a good hand and be a great top roller. I believe you can have like Pascal Girard, a very small hand and a long forearm and be an excellent top roller. You cannot have a small hand and a short forearm. Now, when I mean short, I don't mean short. It's always in proportion to your upper arm. I'm one of the very rare, you'll never see it, but my forearm, my wrist to elbow is actually considerably shorter than my elbow to my shoulder, which is rare. Usually we're about even, which makes me a terrible top roller, but makes me incredibly strong prying down on an arm, especially if I can drag. So that's all I do for years. That was my move, and that's all I think. Every match I've ever pulled, with the exception of a couple with my left, have all been the same thing. So, my back fingers contain very well. I drive very well with an open wrist sideways. So when my nightmare is to pull a versatile puller like John, or someone who can high hook me with power is deadly. But someone who is a one-dimensional top roller who needs pronation in their wrist, I can usually beat, because you have 2 components going for you. You have pronation and you have back pressure. Well, my back finger down pressure flexion will try to negate your pronation, as my side pressure negates your back pressure. Mm-hmm. If your parts are too strong, I lose. If my parts are too strong, I win. But I know exactly the points of impact to stop a top roller. I think the easiest thing to do in the sport is to stop pronation. However, if the guy's pronator is strong, but he can also match your arm strength, you're in trouble. Mm-hmm. I just think I've taken how I'm built, and I haven't tried to work around it. I've just worked with it. It's hurt me sometimes, but I just think I'm a nightmare for certain guys. Just like you're a nightmare for anyone who can't contain. If anyone who has weak back fingers, you will eat them up all day. I don't care how big their arm is. There's points of which we can exploit, and I've just tried to exploit as best I can. Mm-hmm. I think there's a mistake by some people trying to be good everywhere. Now, Devin could be good everywhere because Devin has a freakishly long arm and a big hand. Travis, a lot of people can do a lot of things, and they say, well, why don't you just do everything? Well, not everyone's built the same. But I think, like, for example, why does Brent Rockers have a winning record versus Steve Rao in the United States, but Steve Rao has had 2 silver medals and Brent Rockers always gets destroyed at Worlds? Because at Worlds, when you have 30 guys in the class and you have an arsenal of weapons, what weapon do you use versus a guy from Kazakhstan that you've never met? So you end up thinking, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, maybe do this. Next thing you know, the guy swipes sideways and you're pinned. Steve Rao only has one move, but it's mega elite and it's mega strong. So he goes and he doesn't matter who he's pulling. He's doing the same thing. He doesn't care what color shirt, what country, how big the hand. And in a super match, you want versatility, but in a class with 35 guys, you want a golden ticket. You want that one strong, confident move. And so, I'm a one-dimensional puller. It helps me sometimes. It hurts me sometimes. Now, I wish I was built differently. I wish I had a little bit bigger of a hand or maybe slightly longer forearm, and I'd love to be able to roll half my class. I'd love to. It's not the case. Just like you, I've seen the curls you do, Josh. Your bicep curling on the preacher curl is probably stronger than mine. But because of the length of your lever, the length of your forearm in comparison to your upper arm, even though you can hold that weight, it doesn't necessarily translate to putting all that onto the table. Just like if I can hammer curl as much as you, and from the rising position, and we go to the table, you probably take my hand. So you take strength, and you have to consider structure, and you have to consider dimensions.
I totally agree. There's another thing is that, my experience connecting, the weightlifting to the table is also low. It's something I'm, just beginning to understand and learn about. So it's like, I got a long way to go, Chris, and I'm trying to explore as many avenues as I can. But I absolutely, totally agree with you about what you said about having one technique is better than having 6 techniques. I mean, every successful
it depends. Not necessarily for a super match. Yeah,
maybe
for longevity, for super match pulling, maybe. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a benefit to being versatile, but I think there's a stronger benefit overall to having one extremely dominant technique.
Yeah. I think if I had a choice between being kind of good at everything or really good at one thing, I think that being really good at one thing will get me farther in any avenue of life.
Do you think being that really good at one thing makes you a faster arm wrestler too?
Well, yeah, because we talked about speed. I was talking with speed with guys today. Speed, it's muscle fiber. In arm wrestling, speed has nothing to do with muscle fiber, because if Josh pulled Usain Bolt would get crushed. He would lose the start. Even because you cannot hit something you cannot control, and you cannot control something you're not confident in. So hitting like Marcio, any of these super fast hitters, they're because they have confidence over control in the setup. If you feel, and John, I'm sure when you grab a hand and you're confident that you can control that hand, you can be as fast as you want. Now, if you feel that hand and you feel that his back pressure can kind of do something with your hand, you might be a little bit more, even on a subconscious level, reluctant to hit, because you're thinking something might go wrong. This will not end good for me if I try to hit too fast. I'm better off trying to control or to hit for position.
Right.
So speed is 50% control, strength, and 50% commitment or confidence to the impact of the point in time in which you're going to release everything. It's a combination of those two things, physical and the intangible traits. But I feel I can control his hand, and when that ref opens his mouth and says, ready, I'm firing, and I don't give a shit if it's a false start, I'm firing that guy into the pad. And that's what speed is in arm wrestling. It's not fast twitch. It's not use. It's not, you can't, you see guys training with rubber bands, fast. Yeah. Rubber bands are not built to control your fingers and hands like an arm wrestler or trying to take you out of your power.
Right.
It has no carryover. Now, if you have an incredibly good hand and you're fast already and you do fast speed work, well, like maybe, Taras Avakin did, maybe, oh yeah, for sure. But unless you have complete control, you're not going to be a good hitter. Speed comes from confidence and control, not the fast twitch muscle fibers. It's not sprinting. It's not the same as
I've noticed people with lack of hand strength have a lack of speed generally as well.
God. People say to me, well, why didn't you hit John Brown? Why don't you just hit him? Just hit him. Hit him. You have more side pressure. Hit him with side pressure and put him to the pin. Because if I did that, my wrist is going to go back the other way, 85 degrees, and it's going to look foolish. I have to drive in as hard as I can to stop the match, and when it's stopped, I can slowly ply my trade. But to hit someone with a more dominant hand is like having a chicken fight in a car with a wall. Like at one point, you have to realize it's just not going to work. You're just the numbers just don't add up. Yeah. Yeah.
It's very
and that's one thing where
interesting.
Devin's table might help out, because if I'm pulling John now, I can drive. My shoulders do not have to be squared. I can lead harder with a shoulder. I can drive. I can put a little bit more explosion into the side game, but John could also put more explosion into the back game and drawing back on me. Does the guy with more dense muscle strength is an advantage, or the guy with the levers? I really don't know, but I can't wait to find out Sunday. Like I don't know if I'm going to get smashed or I'm going to do well, but I can't wait to find out.
Right.
It's a good goal to have, regardless. And I'd like to see it back over there. I think Turkey is going to be a pretty amazing tournament. The Black Coast of Turkey is supposed to be beautiful, and it'll be an interesting time to visit that country anyway. They get a little bit of unrest going over there, but I feel like that makes it a more interesting place to visit. Maybe we'll get to meet.
I was going to ask you online, but how are you feeling towards Hungary? Like compared to last year? Last year you took bronze. How is it?
I feel stronger. I feel stronger, but I have a couple little injuries that are not going away. I got a little medial epicondylitis in my right elbow, and my left wrist is still not healed. And I don't know if that's just an age factor or what, because I'm doing a lot of PT for it. I'm definitely stronger, and I feel like I have a little bit more experience. But I do have Raymond's Antonovics, in my class, and he smashed me last year, and I don't think I've made enough of a gain to have equalized the distance between the two of us. But the only time I've rested this year is for nationals and for this event, so I should be 100% when I go, and we'll see what happens. It is the master's class, as you know. I will be entering seniors too, but I don't expect to. I'd like to get a couple.
John, you should have saw the heated conversation Josh and I had last year after Worlds. It was. I'm ashamed of it. Like, it wasn't even trolling. It was pure. It was just sadistic. But yeah, it's funny how you and I having a super match kind of forged our relationship a bit. But yeah, that was.
I won't lie. I mean, I was not shy about it. I was very impressed by the way you pulled, and not only I knew you were strong, I knew you were really good. It was fun pulling you, even though I lost. I feel like I learned a lot. And I do agree with you. I mean, I feel like the whenever you compete with somebody and you have fun and you battle out on the table, I think it changes the way you interact with people anyway. And I personally gained a lot of respect for you from that match, and then I'm not shy about it. And so I agree. But yeah, I mean, I would rather win in seniors too. Believe me, man. I totally agree with you. If I could get one prize, that's what it would be. It would be senior class 90 kilograms at Worlds, and. But I'm not there, so we'll see what happens in the next couple of years. But
every once in a while, if you're really paying attention, you can subtly notice that on Facebook, I extend my opinion sometimes past the point of popular acceptance.
Say it ain't so, Gobby.
Yeah, I've never noticed.
No, it's sometimes every other Tuesday, once every 2 weeks, I will overextend myself and be overly opinionated, or sometimes even heated. But it's not very often. But
yeah.
Sometimes.
I'll try to watch out for that and see if I can pick up on that.
Yeah.
Dude, I appreciate you calling in, man. This is a lot of fun. I like having you on.
One question.
Yeah, shoot.
One question. Who the hell is the arm wrestling mime guys? It's not one guy. It's not two guys. Who the hell is that?
I'm pretty sure Laba is one of them. He hasn't come out and officially denied it, but
Who?
I don't know. Jonathan Laba.
Oh, Laba, yeah. My guess was Laba and Artem.
Could be Artem.
Something's I contacted one of them, and then I figured no, it can't be them. But I don't know, man.
I hope it's Steve Kaplan.
That would be amazing.
There's no way. There's no way. There's no way he has that much time to. There's no way.
I know they're pretty good, except for the apostrophe and memes. I think they're really smart.
Yeah, I know, and that's why it's not one guy, because there are different levels, right? You have edgy stuff, and you have some politically correct generic stuff, which is good. But there's different things, so it's not just one guy. It can't be just one guy.
Well, we'd have them on the show. Okay. Maybe they can come on with masks and voice maskers, and we can have them on.
That'd be cool.
That'd be. I'd tune in. I'd tune in for sure. That'd be interesting. Yeah.
All right, brother.
Just entertainment. Yeah, man.
Dude, I appreciate you giving us a little time. Absolutely. You're always welcome, my friend.
Appreciate it. Have a good time, guys.
Adios.
Later.
Bye.
All right, before we run away, I want to see if we can watch this video that somebody sent in to us because they were asking about some advice. And they given us this match between Giannis and Sam, where Sam loses his pronation. Are you able to share that with us?
Yeah, I'm working on it right now.
So, yeah, anytime you guys have stuff you want us to lend our partially expert advice to, definitely send us videos because we can play them and everybody can watch them and we can rap about it for a few minutes. Plus, it's fun watching arm wrestling videos, so we like when you guys suggest that kind of stuff. And now we'll just twiddle our thumbs until John figures out how to do his job over here.
Please hold.
John went to PT today, everybody. He's been going like a very good student every week, and
yeah,
like it's not been the most successful effort of your life, is the way to put it.
Well, I'm trying really hard.
Chance Shaw's watching.
I'm doing everything the doctors say, and I think the doctors are full of shit.
Hey, Chance, good job, Worley, man. I like that. I mean, I think Daniel Worley is a cool guy, and I don't have anything against him, but I do think it's cool when everybody says someone's going to lose and then they come back and win. I always like that. You know what I mean? And Chance definitely got a good victory with that last week.
Hold on.
And he might be coming up to New England to enter the 220-pound class. So Frank Hurst and John Cervantes and all you guys, you should show up and see if you can whip the young whippersnapper.
No way.
I think that's going to be. I told Chance this online, but you know, Frank Hurst and John Cervantes are legit. But beating them would be pretty massive. All right, it looks like you get this video ready to go.
Can you see the screen?
I can.
Awesome.
All right, so pay attention to the right side, which is Giannis and Sam Harris, and you can see he's got a great position. Giannis has weighed them out. And then you'll notice that in a couple of seconds here, Sam makes an adjustment, which results in him being immediately pinned. So I have a theory about what happened, and I want to see what you think about it, John. So they're super tight right there. Starts to move in. He bucks his elbow in, and basically he actually sinks right into Giannis's wrist curl, and then it just pulls him right over.
Yeah, that's a pretty simple one. So what's the question? Really?
How do you prevent that?
Oh.
Like, how do you prevent losing your pronation? Because you can see Giannis made a slight adjustment and pulled Sam a little bit closer to him, and that's when Sam decided he had to try to do something big to stop it, which didn't end up working. Of course, Giannis is one of the best in the world, obviously. So it's
right. He's no dummy, as they say. Yeah, so, all right. So, Sam, we look at this part right here. We'll stop it there. Because this is pretty much the best position that Sam got, which is a really good one. Sam's on his side of the table. Giannis' hand's flattened out. The strap is helping Giannis right now. Because really, it's protecting his hand and it's attaching his lat to the match, right? So, at this point, if we keep it going, there needs to be adjustments at this point. If you want to keep your pronation, you want to keep that in the game, there needs to be adjustments where the elbow... So they're arm wrestling right-handed, where the elbow slides slightly to the left towards your pinning hand, towards the peg. And what will happen is your wrist will curl just a little bit more, but you'll start using your structure instead of using your muscles to maintain that spot on the strap.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make any sense?
It does make sense.
Okay. So instead of being so square with your arm, where you can see that Sam's pretty square with his shoulder. His fist, his shoulder, his elbows, all in a pretty straight line. You're going to have to get in there, move that elbow over the side, and you can see he has a lot of room to move his elbow over. Moving that elbow over, getting your shoulder structure into the match now. And once you feel a little bit of locking in there, and if you feel the hand starting to give a little bit on Giannis, that might never happen, but if you start to feel that, that's when you bring the elbow back to where it was. But you keep everything that you gained. So it really
another
turns
thing
into
you're
a
doing
negative
is
movement.
you definitely have a nice kink in your wrist, and it's kind of hard to see from this video, but it looks like Sam's wrist is pretty straight.
Yeah, they're both very flattened out.
So would that be something you could do as well?
Well,
like
yes, but by bringing your elbow in, you're going to alleviate the pressure on your hand, and it's going to allow it to curl. So like if I have my wrist like this, I don't know if you can see how flat my wrist is.
Yep.
If I move my elbow 3 inches to the left, my hand doesn't move, suddenly I have a wrist curl. At that point, you use your lat to bring it back to where it was, and now I have a big wrist curl with my lat where it was before.
There's your micro adjustment right there.
Yeah, so basically you're using negatives instead of positives. So where there's positives, there's static, and then there's negatives in movement, right? So positives were not very strong. Statics were pretty strong. Negatives we can really apply super hard pressure. So if I'm static and I'm okay, but I don't have everything I want, I make that adjustment, and now the negative is going to come through my wrist, my pronation, and my bicep. When I drag back with that big muscle in my back, and I keep as much as I can. So say I get, we'll say I get 20 degrees of flexation in my wrist.
Mm-hmm.
I keep 10 of it when I move back.
Mm-hmm.
It's still 10 more than I had before.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes as many of those adjustments as it takes to win. So if we see this match here, really we're talking about good pronation, good hand strength, and good side pressure, but there's not many adjustments going on. And really Giannis is just trying to stay in the match, dragging back with his lat, and being patient.
Yeah, he's mostly, he's holding that position and waiting for a mistake.
And one thing that's kind of hard, it's kind of hard to see, right at this point, Giannis starts to drag back a bit, and Sam's bicep opens up a hair.
Yeah, you can see it. And that's when he makes the adjustment immediately after.
Right here.
Yep, right there. Yep.
So once that happened, Sam was probably saying, I don't have any more pronation left. Which you have to understand that Sam's a great arm wrestler. Sam is an in-shape arm wrestler. But Giannis is known for endurance. So if it doesn't go your way in the first 10 seconds, the chances of it going your way after that are bad. Endurance matches, when you're talking about someone who has elite endurance and someone who has just good endurance, it turns into an avalanche real quick. That's the beauty of super matches, is you can take somebody who's a little weaker but has way better endurance, and if you give them enough matches, they're going to start being like dominant, i.e. Devin and Pushkar.
Yeah.
Pushkar smashes him the first round. They have a super hard war the second round, and then after that it was kind of like then they they show the video that Aussie Man reviews. They show the very last match. People are like, this guy's a joke. It's like you have no idea what that first match looked like, right? So at that point he drags in, and really Sam just makes an adjustment of his own, which is really, I just want to stay in this match. Just totally shoves in with the side pressure, underneath side pressure, which isn't necessarily a terrible move, but Giannis was already pulling back hard. Giannis has rotational control. So once you jump into that point, the position that Giannis was fighting for, you just gave it to him. And at that point, Giannis has really good balance. So he was just able to keep him where he wanted to keep him. So
it's a highly technical match. It's good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, and, a lesser arm wrestler in Giannis, if he was slightly lesser, that adjustment might have been enough for Sam to win. You know what I mean? So, yeah, definitely a good match.
Good question. Keep sending those in. We like them.
Hopefully I don't sound too stupid.
No, you sound only half stupid.
Oh,
that's pretty good.
Better than usual.
I think that's awesome. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us on this wonderful extra episode. Wait, this one is an extra. This is Wednesday. This is the normal episode. Sunday was extra.
Yeah, we already did the extra stuff.
Yeah, we did the extra one. But, we're going to need a co-host, not for next Wednesday, but for the 2 Wednesdays after that, unless I find a way to broadcast from Budapest, which I certainly will try to do. But so if you want to be a co-host, hit us up. We'll see what we can do.
Yeah, what the hell? As they say.
All right, everybody. Have a great night.
Fools. Later.